Hi, everybody. It's James Clary, the restaurant guru, bringing you another segment in the Restaurant Secrets to Success series. Are you ready? Me too. Let's do it. Hey, everybody. It's James Clary. Welcome to the Restaurant Guru podcast. Today's show is First Amendment Rights in the Workplace. I recently had a conversation with one of my clients who is dealing with issues in regards to what people say during the workplace. His specific situation, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it had to do with the recent shooting in Orlando and of certain people saying things that could be perceived as anti-LGBT, and then other people on the other side reacting to that and calling for firing of people, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to address a little bit as to where your First Amendment rights to free speech start and where they end. And quite frankly, in general terms, First Amendment rights end at the door of the workplace, the instant you step inside the door. Now, that's not to say that an employee has no rights whatsoever. As a matter of fact, the law is very clear. Employees have the right to discuss wages, to discuss work environment, etc. However, the law is very clear that speech that could be construed as hate speech or speech that's targeting a certain group based on their sexual preference, religion, race, etc., is not protected under the First Amendment in the workplace. In other words, the employer can discipline, terminate employment of an employee who asserts the right to say speech that is hateful. The bottom line is this, people, use common sense. What you do at home is your business, and it's protected to a certain degree. I mean, you can't yell fire in a theater. You know, you've heard that old adage. Can't incite riots. But you know what? You can express yourself. You can express that you don't like certain groups of people. If you're that kind of person, and that's what floats your boats, you can do that when you're at home. But in the workplace, you cannot. And I think it's really important that employers and employees both understand this, because an employer that allows speech that is considered hateful to go on can actually find themselves in legal trouble. And as an employer, I suggest any time that type of speech is reported to you or heard to you, you must take action immediately. You know, if someone's being sexually harassed, for instance, is probably the most common case. Let's say a woman is being, comments are made about her body, or men are looking at magazines and making specious remarks concerning women and sexuality in the workplace. That kind of activity just can't go on. And like I said, we need to use some common sense. Look, when we go to work, we're there to focus on work. Our speech and our conduct should be about the work. I was pretty hardcore about this in my restaurant. In my dining room, when customers were in the dining room, our total focus, concentration, and what we said was about the customers' work. How can we better take care of our guests? There's no place for private conversation when we're working. That doesn't mean that in off time, say, kitchen staff are prepping, that they can't talk about things, but you do have to be cautious about what you say. In general terms, it just makes good sense. Don't share your political ideas when you're at work. There's no business for that. All you're going to do is bring attention to yourself, and you're probably going to make someone mad, because there's always someone on the other side who feels differently. And it's time in our society, I think, we start respecting each other's opinions a little bit anyway. But the bottom line is, there's no place for it at work. Free speech is not protected at work. And the reason for this podcast is that one of my client's employees actually made the statement, I can say anything I want. I have First Amendment rights. Well, no, you don't. Employees do not have a constitutional right to free speech or freedom of expression at work. The Constitution's right to free speech only applies when the government is trying to restrict it. And even then, it's not absolute. Think about it. There's no free speech in your house. Just ask your mom. And there's no legal right to free speech or expression at work. So employers are generally free to restrict employee speech when they're at work. There is protected speech under the NLRA, which is the National Labor Relations Act. It provides an exception to an employer's broad rights to restrict speech and expression at work. Section 7 of the NLRA gives employees the right to discuss wages, hours, and working conditions and organizing a union, but that's really the only exception. Again, use common sense. When you go to work, talk about work. There's just no place for that other stuff. And if you focus on work when you're at work, you'll be amazed at what a better job you do. Free speech is at home. Speech at work should be about work. That's it. I'm James Clary, the Restaurant Guru. We'll see ya next time. Thanks for listening. Visit me at therestaurantguru.net for more information on how you can become successful in the most difficult business in the world, the restaurant business.